I have here my first digital audio player. It's the Shanling M3X, and it's been 4 years since I bought them, and it still works. I mean, like, the battery's still okay. Other than, like, the volume wheel, it's not so responsive because of the daily abuse that it takes. And Shanling released a new one. It's called the M3 Plus. I just have to get them. I trust the brand so much that I have to upgrade my M3X. Good day guys, this is Practiphile, and yes, today we're gonna take a look at the Shanling M3 Plus. This is not a full review unit. I did get the Shanling M3 Plus from Shanling at a discounted price. Well, the story behind it is, of course, again, there's really no problem with the M3X that I have other than the Android version, because this one here is running like Android 7, and some of the apps, like especially YouTube, it's not supporting the older versions of Android anymore. So I cannot update YouTube and some of the apps, and so I felt like, yeah, I think it's a time for an upgrade. And so I got this one here, the M3 Plus. It is currently priced at $469 US, depending on where you are, of course, because if in the US, I think you're gonna pay around 50 bucks for the tariff. I paid around 50-60 bucks tax on this one here, so it feels like I paid this one full price. I mean, there was a discount, but I feel like I didn't really have a discount at all. Shanling was kind enough to include the leather case, this one here, so it's easy to put on. It's a hassle to take them out. You can also opt for the jelly case if you like this one here. Well, the jelly case is okay, but I don't know, like, I know they turn yellow after months of use or something like that. I just feel like the leather case looks overall better. All right, so what came in the box is, yeah, this one here. So it's just pretty simple stuff, really. It came with, of course, the DAP. I got the rose gold. So, oh no, not rose gold. I got the, I think silver, black, and mocha. So it's closer to rose gold. And you get the wires, the USB, and some accessories here, probably screen protector. Yep, I haven't actually installed it. I will install that later. So yeah, pretty straightforward really with the unboxing. Nothing fancy going on. So just quick on the specs here. It is a quad Cirrus Logic 43198 DAC, so 4 of them, and then 2 of the SGM 8262 amplifiers. You have a Snapdragon 665 and Android 13, the latest, so I'm thinking they are going to support future versions of Android, which is good. It has 4 gigas of RAM, 64 of ROM, and an SD card that supports 2 terabyte, which is good. I mean, if you have that a lot of music collection, good for you. That's more than enough for me. It supports Bluetooth 5, it has LDAC, SBC, aptX, aptX HD. And for the external specs, you got a 3,500 milliamperes of battery, and they're claiming that it can last 14 hours for the single-ended and 11 hours for balanced. So for the 3.5 out, it has a 200 milliwatts at 32 ohms, and for the 4.4, a whopping 800 milliwatts at 32. Most of the time, I use a 3.5 anyway, but if I feel the need to use balanced, then at least I'm not too worried about driving headphones or even speakers in the future. For the physical aspects here, all right, let me just show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is what it looks like here. My mocha, look at that, it's so gorgeous, right? So you have the volume wheel in here on the right. It also functions as the power or wake up button. On the opposite side, you get the next, play, pause, and previews. Here on top, you got the 3.5 and 4.4 balance in there, SD card slot, and USB Type-C. So very, very premium. Very premium. It's actually all aluminum. So it also has a 4.7 inch display. Yeah, the display is not bad. Like, I'm not really after like like cell phone level. So for me, it's really okay. So this is what it looks like. So yeah, because it's Android, so it looks like a phone, basically. There's really not a lot of bloatware in there. It's just really the things that you need, like Play Store, the files gallery, Shanling app, and the Shanling player. So not a lot of bloatware in there. Now the notification bar though is a little bit different. It's more into like the DAP, because here you can switch, I don't know if you can see that, but you can switch like the PO, line out to line in. Work mode, it's it asks you like this. Now I'm in Android mode, but you can also use this as like a Bluetooth amp. You can use AirPlay, USB DAC, and Prime mode. Prime mode, when you go to Prime mode, it basically just uses this, just a player that's just Shanling. No Android or whatsoever, so this should save a lot of battery. So let me just go back to Android. And for the other stuff, like, so it has Bluetooth in there. You have 3 gains actually. So you have low gain, medium gain, and high gain. And you can also switch like 2 DAC and 4 DAC. You also have SPDIF in there. And for the filters, you actually have 5. F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. So those are just quick settings really for the audio. But when you go to the main settings screen, so again, like a usual Android phone, I already unlocked the developable options on this one here. So if you go audio, so there you can see the different kinds of filters in there. If you want to do like low pass, slow, low latency, NOS filter or whatsoever. I'm currently now in the just the first one, that's just the F1 filter. The gain also single-ended. You can also change like what you want to use if you're using Bluetooth, like LDAC or aptX HD. You can also change the gesture. So basically it is a smartphone, Android smartphone without like the calls, you know, and more optimized into audio. Why do I like dApps though? I know like people use dongles and different sources, but in my case, I'm a very mobile listener. Like I listen to music walking around or when I was in Japan, like on the train, and it's just easier for me to find the buttons, and I just find it easier to navigate with a dApp rather than using my phone. And so that served, I mean, the M3X served that purpose for like the past 4 years. It is actually really compact, light, battery is really good, and it's just that the Android version is a little bit old, but it actually has some cons too, and I'll explain that later. Overall though, with the battery life on the M3 Plus, it's pretty decent. What I mean by decent is like it's probably better than your current phone, because like if you charge your phone once a day or every 2 days, you're probably gonna charge this, depending on the use case, you're probably gonna charge this like twice or 3 times a week. Again, depending on your use case, because it's not gonna drain a lot when it's on idle. And that's what I like about Shanling, because they're just good at doing that implementation. Man, like with my Shanling, this can last like for weeks without charging. This is crazy. I'm gonna do comparisons anyway later. So again, battery life on this one here, it's decent depending on the use case. I did try using balance. It drains the battery pretty quickly. Not really quickly, but I think it's closer to their claim on like 11 hours on balance and 14 hours single-ended. Of course, that is straight use. I don't know, like I don't use 14 hours straight listening to music, you know, like I don't do that. So it should last me like a couple of days on a single charge. Let's move on to the sound. I think that's what everyone's probably waiting for. I'm gonna be direct. If you think that you're going to have a considerable upgrade on sound experience because you paid a lot, you're gonna get disappointed. What I mean by that is, I mean a dongle is perfectly fine. Like if you're only using earphones, I think like EPZ TP35 dongles, different dongles like the Apple Snowy Night, which uses the same DAC chip, Cirrus Logic 43198, you're probably gonna be fine with it. And most people probably won't hear the difference if there is any at all. So my point is there may be some differences on sounds, but it's probably like 5% at most. Sound difference would probably affect more on like the tuning on your IEMs or your headphones. And well, maybe some people think sources are important, maybe for hard to drive, you know, headphones or IEMs, but for sound, well, I can hear the difference, but okay. So for people who can hear the difference, if I have to explain the sound signature on this one here, it's just smooth and non-offensive, if that makes sense. I'm already out for words. How do I even start here? There's not a lot of coloration to it, if that makes sense. It's not, the bass are not boosted. There's really no treble elevation. I don't find it bright. There are bright sources. I do find there are sources that are bright, especially the LG ones, like the phone ones, the LG. I can blind test that. Those are bright sources. Warm sources, Sony, I can probably blind test that. Sony DAPs, they're just warm, especially the NW55 or something, the small ones. Those are warm sources, although enjoyable. These ones here, I feel like there's really not a lot of coloration going on. It's just smooth. It is just really smooth. And if I have to compare this to the older brother, the Shanling M3X, probably this is the older brother of this one here. This uses a different DAC chip. It uses like, I think, ESS Saber chip. This is, I would say, there's a little bit of coloration on the mids in here. It's a little bit warmer in the low end. Not really like punchy bass, but I feel like vocals come out a little more realistic on this one here. Although treble can also, you know, a little bit boosted on the M3X. But the Shanling M3 Plus does the job just pretty okay. Just really, it's okay. So if I have to compare both, because of my recent experience with the Shanling M3X, like, you know, like because of the Android version, it doesn't really support a lot of apps. I mean, for me, sometimes I use YouTube to check on some songs because I don't have a lot of offline library. So I use YouTube for that. And because of the Android version, it's not updated. I mean, you cannot update the Android, so you're just stuck with, with whatever songs you have or just the player. So the good thing about the M3X though is like really the battery life. Because it's an older Android version, there's really not a lot of bloatware in there, and it's probably very more efficient than this one here, the newer Android version. I mean, like if you don't really mind not having updates, probably the M3X is just okay. Or the JM21. So the JM21 here by Fio, it's one of the cheapest DAPs out there. I think it's around 170, 160 bucks like that. I do find the sound signature on this one here pretty close to this one, but this one here, it just mature sounding. The M3 Plus is just mature sounding than the JM21. With the dimensions though, like the JM21 is noticeably thinner and a little bit taller in comparison. Okay, let me just compare the three here. So I think the M3X is the smallest, then the M3 Plus, and then the JM21. And if you want to check on the thinnest, I think it goes like that one, I guess. The JM21 first is the thinnest, followed by the M3X and the M3 Plus. So, and this one too, the JM21 is actually, it's also running the latest Android. Battery life, it's not as good as the M3X because this one here can sometimes drain even if you're like just idling. But hey, it's not really that of a concern because like we charge cell phones every day anyway. I just can't help but compare my battery experience with the M3X. I can last for like 2 weeks on this one and not having to charge it, but the JM21 probably without using or just like with light use, probably I have to charge it like at least once a week even if I'm not using it. So the battery drain is more noticeable on the JM21. So there's really pros and cons, man. Like it's really up to you. This is a hobby, okay? This is a hobby, and if it's a hobby, like it's your money. There's no justification to what we spend, really. Like, but we need to justify our purchases with our partners, right? Like you really have to come up with a good reason so that our wives or girlfriend will say yes. You know, like if you hear a difference on DAPs, good for you. In my case, I just really like the brand. I just really like the brand because of my experience with Shanling, and that's why I bought this one here. I like to have a dedicated player. Probably sound would probably be the last. It's really my use case, and I think that is the reason why I prefer DAPs, or you know, using DAPs rather than my phone. But if you're really on a budget, I think like the cheaper ones like the JM21 is actually okay. There are also DAPs from Hybe, but unfortunately I didn't get the chance to review them. But I'm pretty sure the functionality is almost the same. And if I were on a budget, I'd probably just be happy with the JM21, really, to be honest. This is just a bang for the buck digital audio player. And I have a video on this one here if you want to check. But if you're like me who, I just find myself probably in the future using this for like speakers or headphones, and it's a more powerful output. So I'm making future-proof purchases here. Again, another justification to waste money, but anyhow, I do think that this is a great release from Shanling. I would have wished that the sound actually is closer to the M3X. I still actually find the sound on the M3X a little more appealing than this one here. That was a little bit of a bummer, but hey, if you can't hear the difference, good for you. I think that's it for today, guys. Yeah, if you think that my content is helpful, consider liking or subscribing to my channel. Leave a comment down below if you can hear difference in sources. So thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye for now.